And we now will have His Excellency join us. Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency, the President.
Fellow citizens, it is with deep sorrow that I inform the nation of the passing on of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, our former Prime Minister, Kenya's foremost statesman, and one of Africa's greatest sons. Kenya, Africa and the world mourn the passing on of a giant of democracy, a fearless freedom fighter, and a tireless warrior of good governance. Raila Amolo Odinga's name will forever be etched in the story of our republic, a story of struggle, sacrifice, courage, rule of law, hope, and of our pursuit for excellence. For decades, Raila dedicated his life to the pursuit of justice, equity, and freedom. He endured detention and persecution so that this nation might know and enjoy democracy. He championed reforms that gave birth to the rights and freedoms we hold dear today. His voice spoke for the oppressed. His conviction inspired generations, and his vision shaped the course of our history. Raila Amolo Odinga is truly a once-in-a-generation leader, a man whose ideals transcended politics and whose legacy will shape the destiny of Kenya for generations to come. A giant who towered for decades over our democratic landscape. He was a colossus of Kenya's modern politics, an indomitable warrior in our struggle for freedom and prosperity, and a statesman of boundless selflessness. In his passing, we have lost a patriot of uncommon courage, a Pan-Africanist, a unifier who sought peace and unity above power and self-gain, an unceasing servant of the people who gave his all to the promise of a better Kenya. On behalf of a grateful nation, I extend my deepest condolences to Mama Ida, his children, Rosemary, Raila Jr., and Winnie, the entire Odinga family, led by my brother, Oburu Odinga, to the leadership and members of Orange Democratic Movement, and to all Kenyans who share in this immense and immeasurable loss. In honor of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga's extraordinary contribution to our nation, I have declared a 7-day period of national mourning, during which the national flag shall fly at half-mast across the Republic of Kenya and in all our missions abroad. As a mark of respect, I have postponed all my public engagements for the coming days, and I ask all other public servants and leaders to do the same so that we can join the nation in this period of mourning and deep reflection. Our former Prime Minister, Raila Amolo Odinga, shall be accorded a state funeral with all attendant honors. In consultation with the family, a committee to be co-chaired by the Deputy President, Professor Kithure Kindiki, and the Siaya Senator, Oburu Odinga, has been set up to coordinate the funeral arrangements. At the same time, the Government of India, at the request of the Government of Kenya, has offered to facilitate the repatriation of the remains of our former Prime Minister. Consequently, a delegation comprising government officials and family members led by Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, is leaving immediately for India to facilitate proper organization in the repatriation of the remains of our brother, the Honorable Raila Odinga. Other members of the delegation are Cabinet Secretaries Kipchumba Murkomen, Hassan Joho, and other ministers, National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, Minority Leader Junet Mohammed, and other members of the Odinga family, Jaoko Oburu Odinga, Kevin Obio Oginga, and others. And Mama Ida herself, the family has finally decided that she will join those who will be going to recover the remains of the Honorable Raila Odinga. Fellow patriots, we have lost a beacon of courage, a tower of principle, and a father of our democracy. Let us come together as he always urged us to do, not as rivals, but as brothers and sisters bound by a shared destiny. As we mourn, I call on all Kenyans to reflect on his towering legacy and the lessons impacted by Right Honorable Raila Odinga's life, work, ideas, and example. In a political career spanning decades, Raila Amolo Odinga offered a compelling model of principled politics. And at a critical moment in our nation's journey, he always put Kenya first before individual or personal interest. May his soul rest in eternal peace. May God comfort his family. May God bless Kenya. I thank you. Leave it there for now. To facilitate the next steps in honor of the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Thank you very much.
Stop taking meeting notes and let ClickUp AI Note Taker do it for you. It allows you to focus on your meetings, not your notes. It captures everything, from action items to key decisions. And after every call, you get a clear summary. But where it really goes to the next level is that it's the only AI note taker that connects your meetings to the rest of your work. So stop stressing about taking notes and get the AI note taker that works for you. Get ClickUp AI Note Taker for your next meeting.
the whole push.
All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak, and the State of the Nation discussion starts right now. We'll talk matters, politics, and everything in between. We'd like to hear your views at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Citizen Daybreak as we speak about matters, politics. We see on the front pages here, we have why Kalonzo is the most sought after politician, and also the Daily Nation, Ruto Gideon in Statehouse talks. But my guest here in studio is Eric Okeyo, governance and security expert. Thank you for making time. Willis Otieno is here, is the deputy party leader, Safena. Thank you very much for making time. In our Kisumu studios is Honorable Eddie Okech, Senator for Migori, is joining us from there. The Senate is currently in Senate Mashinani. We'll find out what they've discovered while they're there. And Honorable Samson Cherargei will be joining us from Busia. He's a senator for Nandi. As soon as he tunes in, we'll rope him into the discussion. But before we even get into the nitty-gritties of all the details that we're seeing here, Willis, I'll start with you in studio. What is your assessment of the state of politics today? What or who will determine the 2027 political arithmetic?
Thank you very much. What I believe at first instance is that the state of politics and the determinant is going to be the people of Kenya, and more so our young people. Because even if you look at all these arithmetics and gymnastics that you are witnessing, they are more of a response to the challenge that the young people did pose last year, and they reaffirmed it this year during their revolution. And core to their call is the question of the economy. William Ruto has not been rejected just because people don't like his face. He has been rejected by the people just because he has failed them on the economic front, to the extent that for the first time in the history of Kenya, you witnessed people walking towards bullets, not running away from them, and walking towards bullets with a target that Parliament has promised to inflict upon us so much pain. But legacy politicians will want you to still look at them as the main drivers of the conversation. That, okay, I'm a Kigogo here, you're a Kigogo there, let's come, let's talk, let's share the spoils of war, then we get positions, and then we assume that everybody's happy. That type of politics, in my view, was rejected last year. And if there is going to be a political formation that will carry the day, it will be that which is going to answer the economic question. What is your economic promise to the people of Kenya, and how are you going to address it?
Okay. Eric, your assessment of the state of politics today, before we get into the realignment.
Trevor, let me agree with Willis. We are dealing with a dejected and a tired citizenry, convinced that they have a bad government and just waiting for the right time in 2027. You know, William Ruto, like Willis says, is not hated because of who he is. After all, there was a generational mindset that Kibaki handed over power to Uhuru, and Uhuru to Ruto, younger than the one he took over from. What has been the result? It has been despair. He came on account of housing, health, and agriculture. 3 sectors that, if you ask me today, aren't doing well. So I think for me, Kenyans are waiting to prove that they are able to put tribal and ethnicity aside and go for a leader who speaks to their aspirations. We have a dejected society, electorate that is just waiting for the time to vote out this government.
Okay. We'll talk about whether they were really waiting for the time, because there's continuous voter registration and we're not seeing much of it. Let me bring in Eddie Okech on this. Eddie Okech, what is your assessment of the state of politics today?
In agribusiness, movement is everything. One delivery late, one big buyer waiting to pay, and the whole trade cycle feels like it's on hold. Agri-trade financing is a way to align capital with how agribusinesses operate. Most agri-SMEs experience cash flow gaps. That gap creates pressure. Pesa imeshikiliwa, biashara imesimama. Agri-trade financing focuses on timing. It gives working capital that moves with your sales cycle. It's not about more debt, it's about capital inapohitajika to unlock growth and meet demand. So who qualifies? You are an agri-SME, a stockist, trader, processor or buyer who needs working capital to boost stock and purchasing capacity. You've been operating for more than 12 months, making a minimum of 300,000 Kenya shillings monthly, even if you're unregistered, as long as you have county permits. We solve the pressure created by cash flow gaps. Agri-SMEs often have a cash gap between purchasing stock and getting paid. You buy, transport, and deliver, but the money follows later. Or you need to restock, but the money is short. That delay slows everything down. Biashara inasonga, lakini pesa haizunguki. Avenues gives you control over when capital enters the business. Why does this matter? Agri-businesses don't fail for lack of sales. They fail because cash gets stuck. Biashara iko, lakini pesa haiko. Avenues fixes that by moving capital with your trade cycle. Access when needed, repayment from revenue, and automatic credit refresh after each repayment. Avenues financing enters where trade slows. When stock is low, cash is locked, and payment is late. It's not about more credit, it's about capital that arrives when it counts. Apply now through Avenues website.
Trevor, we are discussing the politics of today on the backdrop of the election of 2022. And of course, before that, I always want to say good morning to our viewers for, logging in to watch and listen to what contribution you have to make in this debate. We don't take it for granted. But I was saying that the backdrop of this assessment is 2022 election and the journey we have made up to where we are. And my assessment is that we started as a country in a very bad note. A bad note in the sense that economically things were tough for Kenyans. You remember the 2023 or all the way 2024 maandamano, May demonstrations were about the high cost of living. That was the leading rallying call for why Kenyans were agitating. And then quickly in last year's demonstrations, it became more about bad governance that was going with corruption and sometimes problem of the government not listening to the Kenyans, to the extent that there were abductions that came and then we had the Gen Z movement. So the assessment must be based on that, and I think that one thing I agree with Willis on is that the big determinants of the next election would be the people of Kenya, but not just the people of Kenya. It will be the people of Kenya who are registered to vote, because they are the ones who democratically will determine the future of Kenya. But that said, I think that economically, when things were really bad before the Azimio protest, because we cannot ignore that, and then before the Gen Z protests, and then the arrangement that came after, especially with this broad-based government that gave the government of the day a lot of stability, a number of things have changed economically that have made it better to look into the next 2 years going forward. So for instance, it is a matter of fact that 7 million Kenyans have been delisted from CRB. And you know, the people in CRB are mostly the vulnerable population that we have in this country. The second thing is that the pressure of Kenya comes from what we call foreign reserves that, you know, allows for import and export balances. That, since the stability that ODM participated in creating, has risen from 6.5 billion to 11 billion. The third issue, which I think we all know, is that when we started the 2022, our shilling was very weak against the dollar. If you remember, we were at 162 to the dollar. Right now, we have constantly been, since last year, at 129 to 130, depending on where the exchange happens. Inflation rates, if you can remember, Trevor, last year,